Hello. Yeah, 5 thumbs up. That means there might be some of you in here already. Oh, wow. There's already some comments. First of all, salute. Sorry if I was a couple of minutes later, but I needed to wolf down some food. Hail Kurgan, the legions assembled. Very good, very good. That thumbnail is the ultimate crossover. Indeed, I selected it on purpose because, of course, it's Crusader Kings 2 to combat Vatican II, and it's Rising Sedes. Sedes is controversial in Polish language. It means toilet seat or stool. Well, sede is actually means chair in Latin, so of course, trust the Polish to get it wrong. We have our first question. Nicator no longer bear. I like that name. Says, question related to thumbnail. If the ancient 300 would have been Catholics, giving their lives to the lay 50k heathens, would that be considered martyrdom, or would they still go to purgatory? Just because you're a martyr doesn't mean you don't go to purgatory. I don't know why this is hard for people to get. I guess it's because I'm a Kurgan, and therefore I just assume the worst possible situation and the harshest possible conditions, and then I work my way down from there. You have to understand that the concept of, how do we put this without sounding like a puritanical, Bible-thumping Protestant? But God is perfection. Heaven is God's realm. Everything there is perfect. Do you have any idea how far we are from perfect? And just because I've been in a situation a couple of times where I genuinely thought I was going to have to give up my life for people I cared about. Honest to God, like really thought, I'm fucked. There's no way out of this. But I'm going to try and slow these guys down. And weirdly enough, both times it was a misinterpretation of events. But in my mind, it was absolutely clear. I've also been in a number of situations where the potential for you to get killed was extremely high. Armed people, armed opponents, people that actually wanted to kill you, trying to kill you, that sort of shit. But that is a bit more heat of the moment. I was armed as well. You had a chance to fight back. But there's been a couple of times where I was, in my mind, absolutely completely outgunned, outnumbered, and screwed. But I didn't run, and my intent was to go forward. Now, let's say those had been real situations, and let's say I would have sacrificed myself to protect the people I cared about, that I was worried about, or strangers or whatever. Just because I've done that doesn't absolve me of all the other crap I've done. They're separate things. Now, you might be a good guy that saves a baby from a burning building, but that doesn't mean that you're not a thief and stole some other shit some other time. Now, does one balance the other? To some extent. But, you stole something from a little old lady and then you saved somebody else's baby. You still got to pay the old lady, You got to pay your dues. That's justice, and God is perfect justice. So, while you can be forgiven for literally just about anything, forgiveness does not mean that you don't pay your punishment, So, rise of toilet seats with Spartan on it gave me a little chuckle. Yeah. Right. Fair enough. Peon Bear says this is not how he's going to advertise the true church in Poland. I should teach your people to speak proper Latin. Na zdrowie, Kurgan. Thank you, Peon Bear. Right. Obligatory election question. What is your knowledge, opinion about the current theory about a voting fraud, citing operations being conducted, especially with the blockchain watermark aspect? Okay. Here is my full, total, and complete comment on the whole of the USA election. 1. We knew it was going to be a shit show. 2. Regardless of what happened, we knew it was probably going to spark the beginnings of a second civil war. What actually happened? 3. Trump won outright, landslide, way more than 2016. And what I'm only slightly surprised by is the level of huge fraud that the deep state has seemingly managed to put in. It's on a huge scale. There's obviously millions of fake ballots. Funnily enough, Vox posted a comment about Larry Correa, who used to be an accountant, citing how there's many red flags in this election fraud, and how it's pretty obvious. Now that's a funny thing to me, because I've worked in construction for many years, pretty much on the financial side of things, so numbers, statistics, that sort of thing. Just I'm good at it anyway, and then I've worked with it for many years, so it's just sort of really. And it's patently obvious that there's massive fraud that's happened here. I mean, like, huge amounts. So I'm curious as to the machinery of it. I'm curious as to the extent of the corruption is so deep and so big. And obviously, the Republicans are in on it. A lot of Republicans are in on it, because that's, it's the fake gatekeepers of the right, so they still want their money, they still want their bread buttered by the same evil people that finance the Democrats. So that's it. That's what happened. Trump won. Now you're looking at an attempted coup. How it'll go, I don't know. We'll soon find out. As far as the blockchain watermark aspect, I think that's bullshit. And I think that's probably put out there by the left to try and like placate the right. They're fucking freaking out, going, "What the fuck? They're stealing the election." And they're like, "No, we'll just tell them this bullshit story about a watermark so that they don't like riot in the streets and decide, no, fuck you, we're not accepting bidding. We're gonna lock load and go to the White House if need be to protect the president." Or whatever. I don't know what they're gonna do. Yeah, Nicator says he mixed things up. Baptism of blood isn't about direct passage to heaven. No, it isn't. Very few things are about direct passage to heaven, other than you having led an exemplary life, which I, when I used to do judgments for, so in karate training, after a certain level, you also become a referee or a judge at competitions and so on, both judging style and quality of the movements. When you're judging a fight, you're trying to judge correctly, like whose attack got there first and all that. And as with many sporting events, it goes from 1 to 10, but I've never given 10. If you get 9.5, to me that's perfect, pretty much. And it's a very Catholic way of thinking. Perfection doesn't exist on earth. The only perfect priest was Jesus. So there you go. Ben Evans says, "No longer bear." Haha, missed that. Yeah, it's a good name. It's a good name because it's in your face. It's not making any bones about your position, and I like that. It's very straightforward and direct. Now, David Perkins says, "Blockchain watermark is Q retard stuff. They're legit ballots that were harvested by the riggers. It's an American thing." Now, Q retard, Q is, there is no such, there are Q retards, but Q itself is not fake. Q is a massive PSY operation. It's PSYOps. It's proper PSYOps done by people that know what the hell they're doing. And it's not one person. If you look into it, look, I'm not going to get into it, whatever. I don't really care. But Q is a real thing. That doesn't mean that they're always right. That doesn't mean that there isn't misinformation. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily even good guys. But it's a giant PSYOPs. Of that, I'm absolutely certain. Oh, you're welcome, Nictor no longer bear, for the long answer. I try to be thorough when I can. Xenostart says deep state is shoveling out votes like applesauce to a toddler. Yeah, it's just they're just going to keep counting until they win. That's basically what it is. Hello, Dancers with Logos. Hail to yourself too. North Korea has more accurate election result. That is a thing that I thought that I thought. Well, America has now become the biggest, giantest banana republic on the face of the planet. Welcome to the third world, suckers! LS16, Xenostart says, as the source of our name, are you a legate or a centurion? Chris Gove Animations, hello Chris, your email put me in certainly a good cheer. God is on our side and the pedo cabal is falling. Indeed, indeed. So, couple of, why did I say Sedes Rising? That was the title of this talk. Well, because Tom, who I believe is in the chat, I think I saw him. Yeah, there he is, Centanni. That's right. Tom, along with AJ Rhino Bear, and they're in the vicinity of Dilo, they are essentially not just planning, they are starting to form a little Catholic community. A little Catholic citadel is in its primitive formations. They've sent me a long email about a priest whose name I forget and anyway probably wouldn't mention, asking me about his legitimacy, his supposed possible involvement in some disgusting kind of crime. Supposedly a Sede priest, but I don't know. I have not done the research. I have not had the time to do the research for a variety of reasons, which I will generally mention in very broad terms. So my suggestion to you is do your own research, figure it out, find out who he was ordained by, find out when he was ordained by. How did this guy become a Sede priest? Easy a Sede priest, do your homework, find out who ordained him. That is something that you should be able to dig up. And then you can always go to the people who ordained them and find out who they are, what are they like and so on. Instinctive Bear says he just got a resident visa from Mexico. Well, yeah. To be honest, I think the United States is going to be a hell of a mess. And depending on where you are, it could be really bad or you could get away with it pretty unscathed. But, if you're in America, you should have a lot of guns and a lot of ammo. And I would if I was there. Jeroen Hoburn says he missed the first 10 minutes. What are we talking about? Yeah, you're just gonna have to rewind and check it out later, dude. We wait for no man. As I've mentioned in Social Galactic, the Kurgan army waits for no one. We have one speed, it's full speed. We have one direction, forward. Our motto is my own personal motto, which I've developed over many years because I had it when I was about 15 or 16 and hasn't changed since. In Italian, we have the saying that if you translate it into English says, don't burn bridges behind you. As in, always leave the door open to go back, don't cut your ties with people once you have an argument with them or whatever. And of course, there's an English saying that says, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, which is, don't worry about problems before they actually appear. I combined these two at a very tender young age and come up with a better, new, and more complete statement, which is, we will burn that bridge when we cross it. So that there is no way back. We only go forward. And we do not wait for the retards. And we do not wait for the slow people. And we do not wait for the undecided. And we do not wait to try and convince those who need convincing. We might fire out on the side. Books like Believe or Reclaiming the Catholic Church. I just fire that stuff as I'm going. There you go. Read it. You want it? But we're marching forward. And forward means creating Catholic communities. I'm busy doing that. I'm not talking about that very much for very obvious reasons. You guys are doing that. Keep doing it. And now, I don't know if the other person wants to be mentioned or not, but there is a young man and a friend of his in Canada, very young men, very zealous, who have started the embryonic beginnings of yet another community. And by the way, I hear the wife coming, and she knew I was going to be doing a video, and she said she's going to try and, just keep the kids quiet, to which I laughed heartily, because you can hear the savages will not be silenced. And I expect the little dude is probably going to come hammering on the door in any minute now. But, they know what's going on, so. Ah, yes. There's some whining about something. It's quite interesting. So, well, Chris Covea has just outed himself, saying that since the email he sent me, they've found 2 more young men. That's excellent. That is excellent. And you know what? The really good thing is that being in Canada, you have got complete free reign. I mean, Canada is the capital of homosexual things, so you've got no resistance there. None. You will be able to create what you want, where you want, how you want, because you're Catholic, you're men, you're young, which means you're not going to take any shit. Yeah, more power to you, my friend. LS16 says Xenos, just a legionnaire, but as Kurgan wanted 300 loyal cultists, would that make him a tri-centurion? I'll just settle for centurion. It's good to be humble. Okay, that's the little one, and I can't do anything about that because the only reason she cries is because she wants the boob. So she's probably going to be on the boob soon, I hope. Unless I have to go and tie down one of the other savages. See, my wife is insanely brave in her own realm. She decided to go out with all 3 of the kids on a little shopping spree just up the road. It's pretty cold out there. One's a breastfeeding baby, one is a little barbarian, and the other one is also a barbarian. She's just female, but that doesn't change the fact that she's just a little Viking as well. Yeah, I'll fight in trenches long before I choose to do that stuff myself, personally. I mean, I have to sometimes, but yeah. But she does it for fun, so there you go. Primus Pilus, I think. Oh, there you go. Nikitor Bear knows more about the legions than I do. Tom says that he's going to reach out to the guy again and see if he'll be willing to answer my very simple, straightforward questions. Tom, I suggest, if possible, to go face-to-face. This kind of stuff, you want to do face-to-face because you'll get a gut feel for it. Email, video, people can dodge, dive, avoid. Just go straight to it and don't give him any warning. Just rock up at where he's at and say, these are the questions, these are the details I want, what happened. And don't be above saying, show me your phone. Show me what pictures you got on your phone. If he's a priest, now, if you ask me that, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. Because I got pictures on there that I'm not going to show you. Because it's my wife, whatever. So, but if he's a priest, he shouldn't have any such pictures. Should be no reason for him to hide anything, so. Jeron Houben gets it. Then ahead we go. Good, good. I'm glad you fall into line without any further questions. I like that. Exactly. My path, Xenostart says, shall be lit by the bridges you burn. But actually, my path, as I've said in Believe, sometimes, our duty as Catholics here on earth, under the dominion of the enemy, is to spread light. And sometimes the way to spread light is to set fire to enemy encampments. By the way, I've just noticed behind me that you might think that's just the random art of my little boy, but no, you can see it's already a strategic plan Obviously, black being the infiltrating enemy, the blood of their failed attempt, the green and the blue and the purple of the obvious immortals, with some reserve troops up here. You can see it's a strategic sort of map. Okay, every post about Viganò gets an automatic downvote from here on out. Well, Viganò is an interesting thing because he's saying he's making all the right noises, but he hasn't denounced all the fake popes. And he's been a coward for 50 years. I do believe he was validly ordained. It's very likely, let's say he was ordained in 1968, so it's very likely that he was probably validly ordained. Okay, if the little kid doesn't stop crying, I think I'm gonna just go and latch her onto the mom's boob, because, yeah, just give me a second. I don't like hearing my kids cry. Yeah. I don't know if you heard that, but that was quite funny. So, yeah, so Viganò is not really saying anything that we don't already know. He's talking about Vatican II and the evil mafia of gays in the fake church and blah 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 blah. Yeah, we know all that. What the fuck did you do about it for 50 plus years? Keep in mind, Viganò's got a doctorate in canon law. The canon law of 1917, the real canon law. He's got a doctorate in that. You don't need a fucking doctorate for that book. I mean, really, read it through a few times, and if your IQ is, a little bit above normal, it's a pretty clear document. How you could spend years on it, fine. If you read up all the background material to every one of the canons in it, I suppose you could spend a few years doing that. But then, if you've got a doctorate in canon law, there is absolutely no way on earth that you don't know that Roncalli was not a valid pope, that Wojtyła was not a valid pope, that none of them were. And, he keeps referring them to as his holy. The only one he names by name is Bergoglio, because, he's the arch heretic. So as far as I'm concerned, he is merely another gatekeeper. He's another Tate Marshall, like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be Catholic. I'm just going to use all the same bullshit little fucking con man shit that I used the whole time I was a Protestant. There's more money in this, so, Until he spells out, and maybe he'll get there, there's all sorts of men, and Viganò clearly is not a warrior. We know that. But maybe he'll get there. Maybe one day he'll stand up and say, you know what, I was a cowardly scum, and, well, actually, all these guys are fakers, and all the people that believe them, like I did, or pretend to believe them, like I did, are all complete fucking heretics, including me. I repent, I'm sorry, I'm going to cover myself in ashes, whip myself with a cat o' nine tails for the rest of my days, but now at least I'm telling you the truth. If and when he does that, by canon law, by dogma of the Catholic Church, the only thing that he can do from that day on is retire to a monastery and spend the rest of his days in penance. That is actually the rule, okay? Now, does God allow for breaking of the rules? Sure, and the Catholic Church knows this. So let's say, hypothetical, which I put in my book, let's say Viganò actually says all the right things and becomes the new pope. Would he be a valid pope? He would be a valid pope if he truly repented. But, oh, here's the little Viking. Sorry, boy, but I'm going to have to, chase you out. I don't really want to show your face. Oh, there he is. Never mind. Come on, little dude. Sorry, but you got... No. Don't do that. Okay. Where are you? Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. The little Viking just shoves the door open with one hand now. It's not. Oh, there he is, trying to break down the walls. I locked it now, though. Where was I? Yeah. So Viganò, even if he did that, I know, boy. Just give me a few minutes, and let's say he became elected pope. He would be a valid pope because if he does truly repent, his he was ordained, and if he was validly ordained, they still count. But by canon law, he should have authority over no one. So he would be a valid but illegitimate pope. So it's a legal thing, but a valid and illegitimate pope would be able to pass on the baton or elect another valid and legitimate pope, which would have to be from one of the legitimate still clerics of the Sede class, shall we call them. So that's what that is. Viganò is a Freemason who wants to play the same role as Trump, but under the current Vatican framework. There you go. That's pretty much my take on it. Call me uneducated, but why do they wear pink hats? It's not pink. I think it's supposed to be red, but I'm not sure. And Xenostart says, and unlike Trump, he does not have good intentions. He wants to preserve the morally decadent institution by maintaining his faction's power and ousting the more obvious Satanists. Exactly what I think is happening. Deep, Xenostart, deep. No, it's not deep, it's obvious. And again, guys, I hate doing this. I'm a crappy marketer. I don't really like touting my own horn too much, other than, in my arrogant way that you know very well. But this thing explains it all, okay? If you want to know what the fuck really happened in the church, just read this. It's one book. Yes, it's $25 or whatever it is, but 530 pages, took a long while to put together, and I think it's worth it. And the people that have read it think it's worth it. So if you want to understand exactly how everything happened and why, there you go. And there's history in there that you've never read anywhere else. Salsa Verde says, I've spoken to 2 Novus Ordo priests about the Sedeprivationist position. So far I haven't heard any good arguments, just a bunch of hemming and hawing and excuses. That is all you will hear. And by the way, if you read this and educate yourself on this, what I've written here, I have stated at the back as well. It's that it is, where is it? The way that, what is it? I think it's at the back here somewhere. And demonstrates clearly, canonically, and factually how every objection to the Sedeprivationist position is invalid, none of them being based in the facts recorded for all to see: Roman canon law, the unchanged dogma of the magisterium of the Church, historical parallels to the current situation, or indeed common logic or reason. The Sedeprivationist position is unassailable. It is logically, legally unassailable. It is 100% correct. It's like on the 2 + 2 = 4 and the sun rises in the east kind of stuff. There is no argument against Sedeprivationism. Nicator says, if a priest was ordained by Lefebvre in 1973 and went independent Sede in the late 90s, would you say he's a valid priest? I have a pretty good gut feeling about him, but I'm not 100% about him. I think it's reasonable to assume that it would be, especially if he went, if he left the Lefebvre stuff and he went full on Sede, I would say probably he is. Generally, you should be affiliated to either the CMRI or the IMBC, one of these other Sede sort of organizations. Generally, but I suppose it's possible for one of them to be like out there on his own. Tom says, yes, Viganò is a gatekeeper, very well put. Well, that's what he is. He's like he's another Ben Shapiro of fucking Catholicism. Not as obvious as Tate Marshall, Emo Jones, and Michelle Voris, but there you are. I'm also careful about Viganò, because this is P1 Bear says, I'm also careful about Viganò because either he's a coward by not fully speaking the truth about the whole situation, or he's a gatekeeper, as you've mentioned. Both are bad news. Well, he's both. We know he's a coward. He's absolutely a coward. He's got a doctorate in canon law, and he's kept quiet for 50 years about Vatican II. He's a coward. That's not an if, maybe. No, that's a certainty. At the very least, he's an absolute abject coward. Viganò's looks pink, not like the paintings of cardinals of back in the day. I don't know, mate. Maybe he's a fag too. Who knows? Oh, Xenostart says, can confirm. Reclaiming the Catholic Church is definitely worth it. Useful references to. Yeah, it's pretty packed. Again, you guys who have read it can tell the others in the chat. It is pretty packed with references. So it's not just all in here, and it's not like, it's not the Tate Marshall infiltration where he just, like, I don't know, copy and pasted some random shit and added a few tie-ins. I don't know. That book is pathetic. There is a lot of references and a lot of detail, and references to more detail. So yeah, great book. They both saw the book, Kurgan. They know. Very good, Salsa Bear. Well done. That is the thing. You should confront these people. I did that to a priest when I hadn't written anything yet. So I took a brief criticism of the Novus Ordo Mass, which is written by the Instituto Mater Boni Consigli. It's on their website for free. You can read it in English or Italian. But I got the printed Italian copy, and I gave it to this Novus Ordo priest. He didn't speak to me anymore after that. But that's the thing, hit them over the head with the stuff. I know it's not a cheap book, but believers, and this it's not cheap, but if you're going to try and prove to yourself that your Novus Ordo priest of your local parish is a goddamn Satanist who knows exactly what he's doing, tell him, read this and get back to me. Answer me these points. He won't be able to. He can't. If he's genuinely innocent and that retarded, he will repent, stop being a priest, or try to become a real one. Or otherwise, you just deny, dodge, deny. That's what they do. That is all they do. Ty Anthony says, Viganò isn't a cardinal, so he doesn't wear red. Okay. Yeah, these are details that to me are pretty meaningless. Ty Anthony says, from Revelation, the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and filthiness. Yes, we've all read Revelation, I'm pretty sure. I hope you're not about to spew out some Protestant nonsense, because then... Where's my sniper? There's a sniper somewhere here. I need to make a few more of you guys snipers. Nicator says, the guy worked with the Siamarai priest I was writing to for a while. There were 3 priests leading the Sede church of my city, but they were kicked out. The guy and his monastery is about to get kicked out of his current town. Norco's going after him hard, apparently. That's good indicators. Those are all good indicators that he's probably a valid priest. So go check him out, go talk to him, and if need be, support him. You've got to help your priests. Sometimes you've got to help them, practically try to finance them and so on. That's what we're trying to do with our priests. So, build up a community and help him out. Sometimes just a word of encouragement saying, hey, I'm here, I'm on your side. We need guys like you, don't give up. They're human beings, they need that too, Ethan W. says, I got suspicious when I saw our beloved Tate Marshall endorsing Viganò's past letter to the president. Tate Marshall is like, fucking up. Tate Marshall is like the Chernobyl of Catholicism. You just try and jump in front of anything and say, I did that, it was me, I was the guy. It's a fucking clown. I don't take anything that Tate Marshall... I haven't gone back on his site ever. I watched one of his videos. I put a question there that he saw panic. I saw panic in his eyes. He avoided the question, didn't answer it, and he never will again. I am to these guys like Vox's Jordanetics is to Jordan Peterson. They will pretend I don't exist until the masses around them starts to close in, and then they will just... It is what they do. He himself is independent, not in CMRI, end of message. That's fine. You know, a real priest who's gone full-on independent, that may be a really hardcore priest, you know. Help him out, check him out, see how he is. Maybe let him know about the IMBC people, or, you know, he might need some support. Or maybe he's just giving up, you know, I don't know. But if he's a proper priest, you know, you're the lay, you're the military arm, you're supposed to do the practical, the logistics, you got to help him out. Connor Morris says, section on the infiltration of the church by the Carbonari was really useful and interesting. Yeah, that's part of history that almost nobody knows. And, you know, keep in mind, I've given you just a summary, a snippet of the full story, because the full story would be about 3 volumes of the same size. Just on the Carbonari would be plenty. There's so much shit on those guys, and all of it hidden, all of it, you know, secret history and stuff like that. So to dig through all of that is an almost impossible task. I think I am genuinely, personally, probably that's the section I'm proudest of having written, because it is such a convoluted mess. And I think I did a pretty fair job of trying to unravel that knot in a way that makes sense to the average person who's not an Italian, who doesn't know Italian history, and who doesn't know the history of the church. Xenostart has to run. Be well all. God bless you, sir. AJ Rhino says, a reminder that Imposter Francis hates Sedes more than any other religious group. Of course he does. He will welcome Protestant, Muslim, pagans, and every other religion into the Vatican. Not Sedes, though. Of course not. Because we are Catholics. And he is the antithesis of Catholicism. Joran says, thanks for the clarification. At Ty Anthony, he's still wearing pink like a special boy. Yeah. If Satan hates you the most, that is a big win. That's AJ Rhino. Yep. Like I said, guys, look, being a Sedeprivationist is not easy. You're not going to have a fun. You are going to have a fun time if you're the right kind of person, but you know, it's like after I got baptized, even getting to the baptism was hell. Getting baptized for both me and my wife was like, we nearly split up. There was like a whole bunch of shit going on. It was just like fucking hard, and I was like, I just told her, I said, no matter what's going on, I am going to get baptized. I'm just gonna fucking do it. You know, I don't care. And if you won't do it with me, fine, we'll skip this one, whatever. But I'm still gonna eventually do it. That's all. I'm not doing this. And you know, we got there by the skin of our teeth, and we got baptized. And then immediately after we got baptized, a whole bunch of shit, you know, hit again, because you see, before I was just fighting in no man's land. Now I've got a uniform on. I put the uniform on. Now the enemy says, oh, fuck, let's get him while he's weak. Let's get him while he's still young, green, you know. Now I've been in the trenches a few years. Now I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Every time you come at me, and don't get me wrong, in the last few months, I've had to deal with a whole bunch of shit, major issues. Just like, yeah, roll with the punches. I got a bit tight here. I got hit. I'm bleeding there. It's fine. Just keep rolling with the punches. You know, part of it is also that, you know, I knew the US elections was coming up. So there's always a plan B in my mind, especially there wasn't when I was just on my own. But I got a family. I got kids. So plan B has been put into place. Plan B is now nearly all completely finished. And then there'll be plan C and plan D, and making sure that, you know, I can look after and protect the things that I care about. And while continuing to grow the Sedeprivationist movement. So all of these things are happening. I'm not discussing them online because that's not how I operate. But these things are all happening. They're all being done. There's a process taking place. And indeed, you know, if you're taking a lot of flack, it means you're over the target. Nicator says that he's already visited him, just a few little question marks. I'm already studying the catechism he gave me for baptism. Good. And keep in mind that a proper Sede priest will baptize you on the spot. You know, if there's time and you can study, great. But if there isn't time, like my priest gave a crash course, 24-hour crash course, and then baptized us. And the same thing for the confirmation before the wedding. Another 24 hours hardcore, and that was it. AJ Rhino says, I'm going to go to his church on Sunday if I can. Good. It looks like the election map. Your son is more accurate than the pollsters. Yeah. Yeah. I think a blind monkey is more accurate than the pollsters at this point. Ben Evans says, off topic. With the coming global cooling, have you put any thought into good spots to resettle closer to the equator? Is this the reason for elites pushing inhabitants out of those regions with war? I'm very interested. I'm pleased that you know about the coming cooling, because of the 2020-2021 is when the four magnetic fields of the sun all go out of sync at the same time. I have made plans to indeed be in a better spot, although if a proper ice age comes, it's still going to get pretty chilly out there. The equator generally has always been a pretty, shall we say, underdeveloped area on the planet. I don't know why that is, because it's literally my favorite spot to live at. But there are other considerations, and part of it is, of course, to create a strong Catholic Church. There are certain infrastructures that are useful if you're starting from scratch, as I will be doing in the not too distant future. I've created various seed pods in places, and I hope this continues to evolve, like Tom's place, your place, Chris's place, and others, places that we've got here, and more. And in Italy, they keep growing and growing and growing. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. What the elite want to do is they want to remove all property. That's why they're trying to crash the economic finances of everybody by this whole lockdown shit, is to make people like become poor, fail on their mortgages, so their houses and their property becomes owned by the same banks that they run, and so there's not going to be any more property. There's not going to be any more cash payments. Everything is going to be online. Everything is going to be like digitized. So if the bank closes your credit card, you're fucked. You have to do what they want, otherwise you can't eat. Private property they're going to try and do away with. This is a long-term plan. These guys, they plan for centuries, not decades, not even years. What I'm wondering is why, and the reason that there isn't, actually, it's not what I'm wondering. I know why. The reason that nobody's taking these motherfuckers out one by one is because everybody's just been brainwashed by MTV originally, and now it's like fucking Beavis and Butthead used to be MTV. Now it's like whatever, some stupid shitty manga cartoon that has got just flashing lights for 30 minutes and not even a coherent sentence in it, because your attention span, thanks to mobile phones and everything else, has been reduced to like seconds. Who reads a book of this nature? Who reads a 530-page book of details, even though it's written in a pretty entertaining way? It's not boring, but who reads this kind of thing? Very few people. Who has the mental capacity to stick through it and focused and read a nice, really deep book? I mean, the trash science fiction that you buy now, it's like fucking cartoon cutouts. They're useless. Why? Because nobody has the attention span to read. If you read Dan Simmons' Ilium, that's brilliant. And he doesn't explain shit. He just says, QT. What's QT? What the fuck's QT? Well, the quantum tunneling. But if you don't know about physics, you don't even know what the hell he's talking about. Who reads books like that? Very few people. So, Nikto says, my last question mark about my priest. I thought Padre Pio was a V2 figure. They have a statue and blood relic of Pio. You have to understand that there are things that always fall a little bit outside of the. You've got to stop being German. Stop being German, right? There's some Greek in you. Evolve. Look at Joan of Arc. She was a peasant girl that couldn't even read. She led France. Okay. That God allows for the odd, the weird, the unexpected. Padre Pio was definitely validly ordained. He was kind of a monk. And keep in mind, Padre Pio was still around when Pope Pius XII was around, who was still a valid pope. I don't know the whole story of Padre Pio, but there's no doubt in my mind that I think Padre Pio was a genuine Catholic, was a proper monk, proper Catholic. What happened to him after Vatican II? I don't know. I don't know his story. I don't know when he died and so on. But and keep in mind that, of course, the imposters will try and use anything and put it on their side. It's like saying, "Oh yeah, Padre Pio is one of us." We got a non-gay guy who's actually a Catholic priest. "Oh yeah, he's one of us." They're converting, perverting, usurping everything. You can't trust them at all. You've got to be discerning on your own thing. But and he says, yeah, he carries on. "I might be completely off, as you know. I'm clawing out of illiteracy." Yep. You got a nice thick book to read. What page are you on, believe? 30? Have you got hit page 36 yet? It's only 98 pages. I think you've had it for like best part of a year or something. Nicoter says, "No longer Padre Pio is a clear saint, is he not? He read souls, seems pretty legit to me." Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know when he died or how he died or whatever, but Padre Pio is pretty legit. Salsa Verde says, "I need to read the book again to search the listed archives. The biggest problem I have with Norcos is they admit to the infiltration, but think the enemy has done nothing for the last 60 years. No, the Norcos do not admit to the infiltration. They admit that, oh yes, well, there was some things that were misinterpreted. You cannot be a Novus Ordo priest and be a valid priest. There is no such thing as a valid priest who is Novus Ordo. They're not. They're not valid. Again, dogma of the Catholic Church. Again, read this book. If you don't want to learn it yourself, it's all in there for a reason. That's why I wrote it. So you don't have to search for the answers. It's all in there with references. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can go and do the research, but at least I tell you where to go, where to look. If you're a Novus Ordo supposed cleric, you are a priest of Moloch. You serve Beelzebub, Satan, and his demons. You do not serve the Catholic Church. You are not for Jesus Christ. You are a liar, a thief, or at best, a criminally incompetent moron. Okay? It can't be clearer than that. Chris says, "The second time we went to the real Mass, someone had taken the air out of our tires, so we got there very late and only got about 5 minutes of Mass and did the rosary there." It's okay. Just know that you're going to be attacked. The priest then told us that whenever someone is trying to get closer to the faith, problems always arise. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Be prepared. And your attitude, the best attitude and the best defense that I can tell you, when the shit happens, don't just go like, oh, poor me. Just go like, oh, good. There's some more shit. That means we're on the... Good. I'm going to fight now. Oh, I got hit again. Oh, I'm bleeding. Oh, good. That means I can fight hard. And the more shit you get, make it in your mind. Make it in your mind. Make it like a thing. Like, oh, you think you're going to win now? Watch what I'm going to do next. You give me one hit, I'm going to set 3 of your fucking evil villages on fire. Every time you hit me, I'm going to set 3 of your villages on fire. And when I get stronger, every time you hit me, I'll set 6 on fire. And you hit me again, I'll hit 12 on fire. Fight back. When they get scared enough that they leave you alone, then you know you're starting to get somewhere. Okay? That genuinely, that is the best defense. That's what they're saying, best defense is a good offense. Set fire to their fucking encampment. Set fire to their lies. Do not lie down and take a beating. Give it back. And Salsa Bear confirms. Ty Anthony says, Padre Pio died in 1968 and never said the new Mass. I don't know if he had ever anything to do with Vatican II. There you go. Keep in mind that the first heretic documents came out in 1963 and the whole of Vatican II was ended by 1965. There were still a lot of valid Catholics at that time. Padre Pio was absolutely a hardcore Catholic. I have never heard a single word. And in fact, I do talk about him in here a little bit because he relates to another priest that is a very unsung hero of the Catholic Church, and almost no one knows anything about him, which is why I spent some time writing about him, although, again, I couldn't do him justice. There's a whole book on him, but it's in Italian, so. Make your faith anti-fragile. Your faith is anti-fragile. From the very moment that I saw God, and I wasn't even calling myself a Christian or a Catholic even then, although I knew God is love, that's all I knew. My faith has only gone one way up. It has only strengthened, and even through, I've dealt with things that I would have never been able to deal with while I was not a Christian, while I was not a Catholic. With panache now, you know, the thing that would have crushed me or depressed me before now invigorates me. I'm like, oh, I've got another little arrow stuck in me. Ha! You think that's going to hurt me? Well, let me show you something. Here's my torch. Here's my sword. Oh, look at your little demons running all over the place. Up there, caught one on fire. Caught one. Cut the head off. Fight back. And Dances with Logos says, I saw a picture of him with Archbishop Lefebvre. You know, Lefebvre is one of these guys that I think had good intentions, but in the end he went wrong. But you can't blame the initial not being 100% sure, because these are guys that have been trained to be obedient most of their life, and all of a sudden the whole world is thrown upside down. It's very few people that choose to be priests that also have that militant attitude, and those guys, they're known in history. Okay, there's some of them that have been written down in history books because they refuse to bend one tiny little bit. You know, they're hardcore people, but most priests are just like, well, let's try and figure out what's going on, you know. So it'll take a few years before they actually realize what's really taking place. Also, it wasn't obvious to everybody. Not everyone was literally inside the Vatican II stuff. David Perkins says, why is it that people today can listen to 5-hour podcasts but are incapable of reading? Because it takes less effort in their mind. And I agree with you. That's why I wrote this. But then I have to do the videos because you guys, you know, not you specifically, but, you know, a bunch of you, it's too thick. I can't read that. That might hurt my brain. That's why. Novos Orcos tried to say that Padre Pio celebrated the new Mass, but from my understanding, that claim has never been substantiated. There you go. Dances with Logos says, my excuse is babies tearing up my books. Well, Dances, they can't tear up a Kindle. They can't tear up your phone. To be fair, my books, my non-fiction books are not on Kindle, so that's a fair statement. But, you know, you can read while standing up, right? They're still short. I know you do. I know you read when you get the chance. And next door says, grazie mille, we'll behave less German for the rest of the stream. Very good. I liked your comment, by the way, on Social Galactic. There was a guy that said, oh, you know, he made some stupid comment about, you know, humility before honor, blah, blah, blah. I can't even remember it. And I was like, no, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's stupid. So I corrected him, and then he goes, oh, okay, well, which order should I put this in to make it into a good little haiku? And I'm like, stop being a binary thinker. You know, what's better, honor or duty or humility? It depends on the situation. You know, your honor is important, but it's not more important than winning a battle when your kid's life depends on it. You know, humility is important, but not more important than fooling the enemy if you've got a fight coming up. And that, you know, that by pretending not to be humble, you will win. You know, you got to balance things out. You got to think on your feet. You got to roll with the punches. Chris Gouvet, I'm overwhelmed with my studies and assignments. Any tips? Chunk it. Chunk it. Don't take everything on at once while everything else is still in your brain. Just say, right, prioritize and say, what's more important? What do I need to do first? Make a list if you need to make a list, and then hit those things. And don't think about the other shit while you're hitting these things. And keep in mind, buddy, you're like, I don't know, 17, 18, something like that. If you think it's tough now, wait until you hit the real world. So believe me, whatever your assignments are right now and your studies are, they're a piece of piss, all right? Try having 3 small kids, work, old parents, all sorts of other legal shit going on. Some for your kids, some for your old parents, some for work. And put it all together. Then get back to me. Enjoy your time. This is the good time. LS16 is my excuse, is my half German blood, but I'm working my way through it with the other half. There you go. And actually, LS16, you've got a very good quality, which I've noticed, which is to stay silent and observe and speak only once you kind of know what you're talking about. That is a very rare quality and a very, very good one. So that's very overwhelming. Like I said, buddy, enjoy your time. This is the easy. This is where you skip along sniffing flowers while you do your exams. I'm not joking. You might think it's overwhelming. It's just because you're young and new at this sort of thing. Trust me, as you get older, it only gets harder. But you get used to it. It's rewarding. All right, guys, I've been going nearly an hour. I tell you what, I'll give you like 5 minutes of really stupid ass questions. You can ask whatever, you're not going to get banned. You can ask as dumb a question as you want. And if no dumb questions come, that's good too, because it means that we have got the kind of people that we want here. 38 of you live in the chat, 23 thumbs up, and our 1 thumb down is still there. Is nothing if not persistent. And yeah, he's kind of nothing. He's also fake Christian, the thumb downer, fake Catholic, fake Christian. So by saying that, I've just ensured that he will keep doing the thumb down for the next 10 years probably. Tom says, I have a stupid question. Has anyone ever seen Titty Salad and Archibald together in the same room? That's a very good question. And we know that Archibald is in the Ozarks. And we know that Ozarks are replete with trannies. I think Tom Mastroianni must be onto something here. Taylor, what's my main source of income? None of your business. Are you in Italy? No, I'm in London. And Chris Covea says, if I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and the Cookie Monster has 15 ovens working 24 hours a day every day. I know there's questions for 5 years. How long does it take the Cookie Monster to make 6 million cookies? Yeah. Chris, if you're interested in this stuff, unless they've taken it down, there used to be 2-hour videos by a guy called David Irwin. David Irwin was lambasted all over the newspapers of the UK for being a neo-Nazi, Holocaust denier, blah, blah, blah. He is a slightly autistic older gentleman, English, who is, like Rodney Stark, someone who simply wants the truth about history. And he spent years in the German archives literally indexing every damn little bit of data. And of course they arrested him and destroyed all his data because he was saying it is not 6 million Jews. Now keep in mind that he wasn't saying that the Holocaust didn't happen. He wasn't saying that people didn't get killed. He wasn't saying any of that. And he also made reference to some studies that were done by other people showing that apparently gas, Zyklon B, was never used in the so-called showers, and there was never gas chambers as such. Now, it is a fact that the Nazis did gas people using mobile vans. Children, actually, handicapped children. That is a historical fact that nobody can deny. I haven't personally, not Ireland, Irwin, Irwin, I-N, I think. Arvin, there you go. Friedrich wrote it. So I haven't looked into the gas chamber story myself, but apparently there have been a few tests done on those bricks, and there is no trace of that stuff. That's what I've heard. I haven't looked into it myself. David Perkins says, will you admit that the earth is flat and sits on turtles all the way down? No, 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 because it isn't. Rick here says, I'm moving to Ukraine from the Netherlands. What region should I pick to live? Southwest looks best to me. You know more about it than I do. There's a bunch of pretty Ukrainian women all over Ukraine. I know something about that. But where exactly in Ukraine they come from, I don't know. I would probably pick the region. Well, I don't know. I don't know what. I really don't know. You have to do your own research. David Eyring. Yes, I believe that's his name. Okay, thank you guys. It's been killing me about what really happened. I was confused. It's very hard to know what really happened. But Chris, one of the books that was actually very instrumental in me understanding something about the nature of the Second World War. Keep in mind that the guy who wrote it, I think, is called Ravenscroft. He was a POW in the Second World War, I believe, and he was a commando as well, I think. And he wrote a book called The Spear of Destiny. Ravenscroft is his second name, I think. And he basically gave a slant to the whole thing where he added in the mysticism aspect for Hitler. I've also read part of the supposedly fake Hitler diaries. If they were fake, they're pretty good fakes. And if this Ravencroft's guy lied and just made shit up, as a lot of people accused him of having done, I think there was something to that guy. He's dead, I believe, but I saw some interviews with him. I saw him speak on video. He didn't strike me as a bullshitter. Now, he might have been wrong, but I don't think he was an intentional liar. And The Spear of Destiny is definitely a book that I would recommend. It gives you a different perspective on things. I don't know how right or wrong it is, but it's got some interesting stuff there. And it rung true to me. There was something about it that I thought, Tim says, by the way, I finally responded to Archbishop's post on your blog a week ago. It may have not gone through. Oh, I have to approve every single comment because I was hacked a bunch of times, guys. So I haven't been there for a while. It's not lost. I just need to approve it. Yeah, I'll see if, I try not to post personal information or whatever. What's the best way to understand the Bible? Read it. CM says go to live. I don't know where that is. Ben Evans says, okay, the earth isn't flat, but the moon is clearly a lamp. That's not a question. And you should get bitch slapped for that. Rick here says, yes, we probably pick something around there. Mountains and forest we would prefer to have around. You see, you're a mountain person. I'm an ocean person. So, Ty Anthony says, what's your opinion of the Challoner revision of the Holy Bible? Does it have Protestant influence? Any revision of the Holy Bible is probably, I don't know that particular one, but why do you need to revise it? You know what I mean? It was translated pretty accurately in the Vulgate many years ago. A Dwyer and Me Bible is fine. An interlinear word-for-word Greek for the New Testament and Hebrew for the Old Testament. And an Aramaic one as well, if you want to compare. And you got everything you need, pretty much. Jordan James says, RFB's medieval or get the fuck out is essentially a Sede position, no? Who's RFB? I don't know who RFB is. Has she ever spoke about the Sede position? Oh, Rachel Fulton Brown. She does seem to be inclined that way, but I don't know. I've offered to speak to her. She's just not responded to me at all on Social Galactic. If one of you has an in there, I'd welcome to have an interview with her or talk with her or whatever, because she's done some amazing work. Nick Torser, where was the one true KGV buried? In the ass of Martin Luther, and buried with him. Ben Evans says, von Sebottendorf, the founder of the Thule Society with many Nazi members, was a Sufi, wasn't he? I don't know, but there's very interesting shit about the Thule Society, the Vril Society, all these things. Here's a little piece of tidbit of information for you. Von Clausewitz, the guy who wrote On War, which is a pretty brilliant book, and who was pretty much responsible for the German Blitzkrieg, or what they call lightning wall approach, which won them so many battles at the beginning of World War II. His wife was some kind of a medium, and I don't want to get this wrong now, but I believe it was his wife that apparently got some kind of information, supposedly from aliens, about how to build anti-gravity machines. Now, the fact is that the Nazis did build anti-gravity machines. So, as crazy as that sounds, whether they were demons, whether they were telepathic aliens, there was certainly some weird aspect to Nazism. And the occult aspects of it are well known, but the details of that occult aspects are not well known. Peter Levanda writes on this sort of stuff. I gotta say, Peter Levanda's books are some of the things that will probably give you fucking nightmares if you really start to think about it. So, not for everybody, but yeah. Ben Evan accepts the bitch slap. Good. Chris Govea says, do you know what the best Bible in Spanish is? I have not got a clue, sir, but hunt around. You obviously read English, get the Doiremi Bible, and then see, compare and contrast. Rick here says he's from the Netherlands. I've had enough sea for a while. Well, in your case, though, it's not really the sea. It's sort of like marshland, really. Smelly kind of marshland. You see, I'm a Venetian, so I kind of like that sort of thing. Tom says, according to Bishop Sanborn, the Douay-Rheims translation from the Latin Vulgate is the best, safest way to go. It is. Everything else is a manipulation, subtlety often being most pernicious. Indeed. Douay-Rheims is a good general Bible. If you want to get more involved in that, then you really need interlinear Greek and interlinear Hebrew. And I would still also say an interlinear Aramaic, which I've shown you guys before. Ben Evans says, I brought up the Sufi influence because it gives an Islamic connection. I should have written that more clearly. Yeah. Enslaved by Truth says, meth was the secret of the Blitzkrieg. That too, yes. But strategically and tactically, the Blitzkrieg was also something that hadn't really been done before. I think it's fairly obvious, and I would have pretty much gone that route from day one. Attack fast, move, and keep moving sort of thing. But yeah. Ben Evans says the Hannibal channeling stuff is really interesting though. Yeah, Ben Evans knows what I'm talking about. He's an educated man. The Hannibal were the Nazi anti-gravity machines, and I'm absolutely convinced not only that they built them, I'm absolutely convinced that they had a base in Antarctica, and I'm almost 100% convinced that the Operation High Jump, which involved over 4,000 soldiers of Americans going to Antarctica, got their ass kicked by something and came back with their tail between their legs. They were supposed to be out there for months. They came back after something like 6 weeks. They lost men, they lost machines. It's still like all, top secret stuff. And Admiral Byrd's diaries are still under lock and key. And he died in a mental asylum as a crazy person. This was the foremost explorer of Antarctica in his day. I don't think he went mad. Woolly Ram, hello. Good evening to you too, sir. CM says meth was the secret for Jordan Peterson too. Indeed. And he hates the Nazis. He's scared of the Nazis. And lo and behold, how the circle turns and how the worm eats his own tail. Tom, shalom is not the appropriate greeting for Woolly Ram. Woolly Ram is a Catholic. They're the baptism by desire. So I think you should refer to him correctly as a would-be monk. Okay, guys, I've gone on for an hour 10. it's really good to see you all here, and thank you for all the thumbs up. There's 4 of you that are holding out. 31 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. That's 32. There's 4 holdouts. All right. And Nicator says, lies. It's apple cider. Definitely not meth. Yeah. A miraculous 25 days with no sleep, apple cider. Okay, guys, I am now going to go and eat with my family and spend some time with the kids and the wife. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys coming here, your questions, and your continued support, and the fact that you're slowly but surely becoming that hardcore little group of fanatics that we want. Ben Evans says, given the failure of Operation High Jump, it should be renamed the Fosbury Flop or Operation Fosbury Flop. Well, they did jump high, kind of like when you step on a mine, you know. Thank you very much. Feel free to ping me some suggestions of stuff you want to talk about. You know, I can go on for hours on the Nazi stuff, on the Mars stuff, on whatever. And you know, I'm trying to hit the topics that matter the most, because there are little Sede groups forming, and I really, that's the important stuff, guys. You know, the fucking elections don't matter. Trump won, whatever. The civil war will happen, whatever's going to happen there. The important thing is, remember that we're not fighting enemies of flesh and blood. We got to fight those too eventually, and you know, when it comes. But there are powers and principalities. So be strong. Baldwin Bear, good night. Good night all. Thank you very much. And God bless you all.